from the past.
Oh, wait, we're ready. Oh, it's live. Good evening. Welcome to the Tuesday, February 11th, 2014 meeting of the Abington Finance Committee. As many of you already know, the only reason why you have my ugly mug here sitting and chatting at you is because our esteemed chairwoman has decided to pull papers and run for the Board of Selectmen. So good luck and congratulations to Maureen for a very successful tenure with us. I'm certain we'll miss her and harangue her as necessary. The agenda that we have in front of us does call for a host of guests in front of us, a handful of new business and some other business. But as a matter of point of order and chair's discretion, I'd like to give the committee an opportunity to make a decision as to whether we'd like to select a chairman to replace Maureen. As you can appreciate, we have a co-chair, we have other officers, secretary, and the statisticians. But I do believe that there's several folks who may have some interest in stepping forward. So what is the discretion of the group? And as we go for that discretion, if someone wants to make a motion for that reorganization, you can go forward with that, and I'll turn the meeting over to Deb. I would like to. It just makes me feel special. We're looking at each other.
So a motion to reorganize?
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? No conversation? All those in favor? Look at that, Matt came in, he says it's unanimous. Okay, so we have, in order to move for reorganization, as Deb just kind of gave me the nice admonition that I don't have to give it over to her, so I will keep it. So I'll entertain two points of order as well. One, are we just filling the chairman's slot, or we're going to reorganize the entire group? I should have specified that with the motion, but I didn't. I apologize. Is the discretion of the group just to simply fill the open vacancy?
Can I re-motion? Can I withdraw that motion?
No, just
Or do you want to just...
the intent, we
all right.
just specify the intent.
So
My understanding of the motion was that we were just going to refill the open chair slot.
And that
That's what
was...
we'll carry forward with. I'll take nominations for chairperson. Cindy?
I'd like to nominate you if you have the time and the availability to do it.
I'm flattered. I don't know that I would be able to do the group justice. I do enjoy my role as vice chair. I think I can provide that support, and I might be better at doing that. Trust me, I think everyone here is hoping to God. And I don't know if I want to go hope against hope, but I appreciate that, Cindy, so I'd decline that nomination. Rick?
I'd like to nominate Cindy Whiting as chair.
Any other nominations from the floor? I'm going to stare at Matt uncomfortably just because he came in late.
Okay, keep staring.
Thank you.
Another 5 minutes, you'd have been adjourned.
We're all crossing the fingers hoping.
Good thing I showed up.
Second?
I'd like to nominate Chad.
Okay, so we have two nominations on the floor. We have Ms. Cindy Whiting and Mr. Chad Lovett. Any further nominations? No? Okay. So the way we'll do it, we'll call it alphabetically, if that's okay.
Shouldn't we ask them both if they...
I'm pretty confident,
Similar.
Cindy. Are you
Okay.
interested? She looked at me and said I wasn't saying no, but I wasn't saying yes.
I wasn't saying no and wasn't saying yes, but under the circumstances, I think at home right now, as much as I would like to do it, I think I'm just going to have to, I don't know that I'd be able to do the same thing as the time, or, so.
So we have one nominee. It's going to be a very contentious vote.
Could I, Stephanie will kill me, I'd like to nominate Stephanie.
A second.
Well, listen, they made me ask here, so I'll ask you as well.
I'm concerned with the time as well, and I'm a little torn. I don't know if I would be able to dedicate the amount of time required to that, just because, you know, of work and some other things as well, though I do absolutely appreciate it. I don't know if I'd be able to dedicate that much.
If you were to say yes or no, which one would it be?
Being put on the spot.
Well, it's kind of a vote.
Yeah. I actually think I'm going to decline.
Okay, we're over with this one. Okay, with no other nominations from the floor, all those in favor of Chad Levitt assuming the role of chairman, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Good, because I was really afraid he was going to back out.
Technically, we didn't make
We
him
were
answer
running
the
out of
question.
people, too.
Yeah.
Without further ado, I'll turn the meeting over to Chad.
Hey,
It's
Chad.
easy, new business. We have to welcome our guests and hit the new business.
Chad, you want to switch seats?
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just say, for the benefit of the public, that if anybody ever thinks this stuff is all worked out in advance, I think you guys
Clearly shown that it's not.
literally don't finish the process.
Are you gonna,
I
can you
would
come
like-
on up?
Yeah, just give you a.
Or do you wanna stay over there?
Quick update, well, wherever you'd like to go. Here, I can sit on the link, whatever the history is, but I just wanted to point out that you have in front of you a summary document, which I'd like to say all nice for you, but that wasn't me. And what you have is with the addition of the school budget, you have a summary document, which includes the request from all budgets, and on top there's some summary information. In addition to that, the page that I'm showing you right now has a compilation of the revenue versus proposed budget and that $1.9 million deficit. Keep in mind, that's based upon proposed budgets, not on reality. And if you went to the bottom of that document, and if you saw there's a couple numbers there at the very bottom. If the town were needed to reduce from the proposed budgets, which we do, those are the numbers based upon the current percentage of operating budget, 1.29 from the school current proposal and $636,000 from the existing town proposals, non-school. But again, this is, at this point, it's somewhat of an exercise. I just want you to know what you're looking at this point. So, and I'll move my stuff up here.
So the new business is the funding request transfer from Veterans Aid.
Hello again.
Hello.
Seems like I'm here every other month. Because of the economy and the aging of our veterans population and people coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan that can't find work, I'm adding more and more people to my Veterans Aid list. I have, in fact, just the last couple of days, I've added 3 more. The last time I was here, we were averaging about $900 per person. When I printed these out, I was counting microphones and not chairs. So I have 6 copies there.
We can look on.
Last couple of months, we've been going around 10,000. One month we were 12,000 and change. There are a couple of small bills that I need to pay also that were incurred before I started running out of money. So I have the transfer document here. And I'm requesting $14,000 a month for whatever, how many months you can fund me right now. I know the town is really strapped for extra money somewhere. By state law, this is called the Veterans Aid budget. Veterans Aid is by state law is supposed to be funded by the town. I've switched several people over onto new insurances and new prescription plans in order to try to save the town some money, and I hope that'll work out. That's only been in effect since January. I only printed out the first page of each month because of privacy rules. And you can see. And when I asked for money before, I said,
should be about the same amount of money each month, barring any surprises, one-time payments. And 2 days after I was here last, I had a veteran who died who had no insurance, and I was obligated to pay $2,000 towards his funeral bill. So that ate up a lot of money with the money that was transferred before. There's going to be another one-time only payment coming up as soon as I get it approved from the state, around $2,500 for dental work for a veteran that needs that. That's something that my office is also authorized to provide, as long as I use the amount of money that the state would pay any other way. So I had his original estimate reduced from $6,000 to around $2,000. So that was the reason, is because I went and used what the state would pay, not what the dentist would charge. And the dentist in question has been very, very kind, and he reduced all his fees because this particular veteran has no insurance either. And so he's been very kind in reducing his fees to what, the state's standards. So, and that's not going to appear until it's called a pre-approval through the state, and it hasn't been pre-approved yet. So that won't even be charged until I get pre-approval from the state of Massachusetts.
Can I just ask what the, like on each one, what the miscellaneous, like what falls under miscellaneous?
Miscellaneous is Medicare Part B. It should be $104.90 a month per person. There's one veteran that's a little bit higher. There's also Humana insurance that we've changed over to, and that's $221 for 3 different people. Also, medical insurance for some of my other clients, but that's where all that falls into. There's not any one category that falls into it, so they put it on. I put it on the miscellaneous, but there's a drop down menu on
Right,
the
on your
computer, so I can tell the computer what it's for. So when the full report's printed out, it'll tell that person what it's for. So.
And what about ordinary benefits? What falls under ordinary benefits?
Is money that I am able to pay certain clients that fall into a certain pay scale. Usually it's for those whose rent's really high and their income is very low. Mostly it's, almost all the time, it's just from Social Security. You'll see another, I don't know if heat is under there, or fuel assistance is under there.
Fuel is
there.
separate,
That's for
yes.
those who rent a house, or rent an apartment, or who own a house where they have to pay their own fuel. And that's also depends on what their income is. I can go as high as $272 a month, but I've also gone down as low as $14 a month. It just depends on their income.
Oh, do you want to sit?
Yes.
All right.
Bob, how many Iraqi vets do you have?
Iraqi vets, I have 3 right now.
All right, and how many Afghanistan?
Oh, Afghanistan, Iraqi vets, there's 3.
The same?
War on
Oh,
terror.
so 6 in all?
Well, there's
3 total.
3 total.
Okay.
One has, 2 have families.
Yeah,
One has dependent children under the age of 10. So he, and because of his situation, I'm able to pay, I pay all his medical bill, all his medical insurance. I pay heat, because his rent doesn't include heat, ordinary benefits, and because he has a family of 4, it's a bit more than most everyone. In fact, most everyone is, he's the only one that has really dependent children right now. There's one that came in today that has a dependent child, but she doesn't live with him, so I don't have to worry about putting I don't have to worry about putting her on as a dependent for him because she lives with her mother.
Okay.
But most everyone is a husband and wife or a widow. And in fact, one gentleman came in today and he showed an article about a non-service connected pension, which is a federal benefit. And I looked at the top of the article, it was from a newspaper clipping from Hawaii. So he brought this all the way home to show me this and see if he was eligible for the federal benefits. And as I talked to him a bit more, I found out he was eligible for the state benefits. So we filled out the paperwork for federal, and I'm gonna put him on for Chapter 115. And if he gets the federal benefits, then I take him off the state benefits. State benefits is sort of like a bridge between what we're doing now and what he's gonna have to wait for 6 months or so from the federal government.
Thank you.
Cindy, do you have one question?
Yeah, I actually had a couple of, when you talk about their insurances and we have medical and that, aren't they able to go to the VA and get a lot of their medical and dental done?
In order to get dental from the VA, you have to be 100% disabled. And if that particular veteran was 100% disabled, then he wouldn't qualify for Chapter 115 benefits. There are some that they get their medical, and yeah, that is paid by the federal government, but for Medicare, it's $404.90 a month. That comes out of their Social Security. So that's something I can pay for. There's a lot of clients that do not qualify for ordinary benefits because they make too much money, but they qualify for letting me, for me to pay their medical co-pays, their prescription co-pays, and their insurance co-pays. And one of the reasons I put them on a new prescription plans is because there's no co-pays.
But then what does the VA pay for these veterans that come out? Maybe it's just, maybe not even related to this, but it seemed to me that, anybody I know that's ever come out of the service, I have a friend that she's working full-time job, but because she had been in the VA, all of her medicals are covered by the VA.
Every person's different.
Well, so how did it end up, I guess? And I'm not saying there's differences, like, and I'm not comparing you with our prior veterans agent, that's not it. I'm just kind of curious as to how all of a sudden, if we've had 3 veterans come back, what's the difference between veterans that he was covering and where have all these people suddenly come from? And it could be the economy that's brought a lot of people in to talk about this. I'm not really sure. I guess I'm concerned as to where is all of this coming from and how is all of this like mushroomed within the last year or 2.
Looking back on Joe's records, he averaged between 7 and 10 clients for the last 5 or 6 years, since 2002, I believe. Now that the word's getting out that there are benefits out there for people that qualify, they're coming in. Like I said, the economy is really bad. No matter, I don't care who says it's getting better, it's not getting better.
And then who recommends these people? I mean, do they go to other agencies? Say they might go to, would like to get food stamps, or they might go to WIC or something like that, or they might go to Social Security. Are these other agencies then funneling all of these extra people or all of these new people to you specifically?
If they qualify, yes.
Okay, so they could be sent in from Social Security or...
My job is if a veteran comes through the door or a widow comes through the door and they qualify for these benefits, it's my job to sign them up.
I guess like my question is like, how are they all of a sudden finding the door?
There's more and more articles in the paper,
Okay.
more and more word of mouth. Agencies that they go to help with other things like fuel assistance. If one of the first things that person is instructed to do, because I've asked them to do it, is to find out if the applicant is a veteran or a widow, and if they are, they send them to me. In fact, I've been passing my cards out. I passed my cards out to the VA hospital in Brockton. Most of that's federal, but there are people that live in, and I can only help people that live in town on Chapter 115. all these people live in town.
Mr. Chairman, if I could.
Sure.
I guess, and I just had a quick conversation with the town accountant. One of my concerns, I haven't seen the reserve fund transfer request. And I know procedurally I'm supposed to sign it for the town accountant. I know you only have limited amounts of in your reserve fund.
How much is there in the reserve fund?
I think it's about $24,000. So I just saw a draft that I was shown, and obviously 56,000 is not, I haven't seen anything else at this point. I do have a question for you though, Sue, if you don't mind. In understanding of the finance committee is meeting tomorrow night also.
Correct.
If the finance committee were to get a reserve fund transfer request tomorrow signed by you or me, and they approved it tomorrow night, that would not hold up any obligations being paid this week, is that correct? So if they acted on this tomorrow night instead of tonight, would that make a difference in terms of anybody getting their benefits paid?
We can hold off on the checks being paid,
Okay.
Printed tomorrow or Thursday morning, which
Okay.
kind of puts a little delay on everything else, but.
My point is that whether if the finance committee approves a reserve fund transfer tonight versus tomorrow, is it irrelevant in terms of somebody getting money?
No.
Client, okay, that, I was wondering if perhaps you could work, I know you,
Yes,
go ahead.
I'm leaving. I'm gone tomorrow for, a week and a half, so.
She's really
I don't,
under the
again,
weather.
I don't know the reserve fund transfer that's in front of you either. I do have a number for the month of February, and we discussed previously that we would attempt to fund, or attempt to present to you guys the month of February, and then through other means, there's other means of funding that we discussed about getting a town meeting, having a town meeting transfer. So working on a month-to-month basis rather than, and I don't know what you guys are looking at. So there is other funds available other than the reserve fund. And currently for the month, there is a number in there, but there's a lot of discrepancy between what's being reported to the VS, the Veteran Services, and what's being reported into our software system. And those were presented to Bob today, and a lot of them were not corrected, so I don't have an exact number. I don't know what February is.
Okay, I guess my question is, I know that.
They can get their checks.
Okay. The other, but I guess the question in terms of, that's the first question, thank you. So if you had a document properly signed off tomorrow night, if you were willing to entertain it, next question is, what's the right number? And I know you're not gonna physically be around, but I know
I
Laura
have
is.
staff that is.
Can we get a good number to pay for the existing obligations by tomorrow night?
They're based on what we have in our office, and again, there are some variances in what's on I'm sorry, I keep saying VS, Veteran Services, and what's in our system, and what needs to be corrected. There's a lot of things that need to be corrected, and based on what my staff has, we can get you a number to get us a check through February.
So the answer is
Yes.
yes. People can get paid, and you will have a number, and you don't even have to show up tomorrow night to get that accomplished. If that's satisfactory to the finance committee.
I'll be here if I need to be.
Well, I'm just wondering if that way everybody will have had their chance to look at exactly what is being presented here.
I had 5 clients come in my office after lunch, so I was able to correct one thing in KVS. I'm hoping to come in as early as I can tomorrow morning and finish up that. But that was the reason I didn't get it all done today.
And that's fine. I think we're all very cognizant of the fact that the reserve fund is particularly low at the moment. That's why we've been going on this month-to-month basis. So
So you guys
my
come,
question is if you can give us till tomorrow night,
Sure.
because you're meeting, it won't affect the clients. And I think everybody will be more comfortable with what that exact number is. I would maybe suggest that would be a good route to go at this point. So you don't want to affect the clientele.
sure, if you guys are gonna true up the numbers tomorrow and get them as accurate as you
And
can.
I think it's just a matter of just reconciling some of the discrepancies between the Veterans Department and the Accounting Department, and that can be done tomorrow.
And that number for tomorrow will simply be to cover February's benefits.
Yes.
March will come back and look for some more, and hopefully by town meeting, we have the other funding source.
Okay.
Because I put down a figure for 4 months, but then after I sent you that one, I put down a figure for 1 month. So what I have here is different from what you have.
So I think it makes sense to work with Rick and Sue's department
I'm
tomorrow.
working with them very closely.
Okay, so we'll table it and we'll take it again tomorrow?
Cool.
Can I ask one more question? That $2,000 funeral expense, that guy live in Abington?
Yes. I don't pay any
He
state.
died in Abington?
He lived in Abington.
But did he die in?
Yes. Makes no difference if he died in any other place. He did die in Abington, but if he was in Maine and died and he still lived in Abington, it's still my responsibility. He's a resident of Abington. My primary responsibility are the veterans and their families who live in Abington. That's my primary, that's what the main focus of the Department of Veteran Services of Massachusetts is responsible for, are the veterans veterans and their families of Massachusetts. My concern are the veterans and their families of Abington. Federal benefits, I can help anyone, anywhere in the country for federal benefits, because that does not affect the budget in Abington.
All right, so he wasn't living anywhere else at
He
the
was
time?
living in Abington. I wouldn't have even gotten approved through the state of Massachusetts if he wasn't living in Abington. And I filed all the proper paperwork. I filed all the paperwork that I need to send to Boston. They approve it. I mean, I can authorize the money, but they approve it. And if I made a mistake and they don't approve it, I have to fix it. But he lived in Abington. He was buried out of Rockland. He was buried down in Bourne. And that's how that works. The most a funeral can be charged is $3,000 for, it's called indigent veteran. The town pays for $2,000 and the funeral home eats $1,000.
Okay,
So that's how it works.
all right, thank
Do you
you.
want me to finish answering your question? About where all these people come from?
I think we're all,
Okay.
Table
I
till
think we're
tomorrow?
good.
Yeah, so we'll have
Thank you.
I think a pretty darn good number tomorrow night,
Right.
and then I will bring it to you with a form. I don't think you've got to come out again, Bob.
If the committee has any other questions, I'll be more than happy to come to answer the questions.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
you.
you.
thank you.
Next is budget discussions with fire and council on aging and library. Who wants to go first? You guys can fight it out.
Me.
I'm not feeling too great, so.
So you're coming nice and close.
I'm not coming nice to this, I have to say. I'm not touching anything. I'm not touching anything. I'm diseased.
You can stay over there if you want.
Thank you. I don't want to get anybody sick. There's no damn kid in there.
What page are you on, Suzanne?
So how's everything at the council on aging?
Awesome. They're awesome. I can't say enough about them.
Right up in the corner where the hole is punched, it should say,
42.
all right, I'm close, I was
Everybody on
close.
42?
Thank you.
Sit over there. Go ahead. Yeah, Council on Aging, everything is good. We've had a few deaths the last couple of months that were, a little tragic for us, and we've had some accidents, but other than that, they're all good. We're trucking along, trying to stay ahead of the weather, trying to stay
And
ahead
tough.
of illnesses there. But we're all good.
Good.
42. Thank you. Do you want me to go through?
You guys want to go through line by line, or do you want to go through the highlights and tell us?
For the most part, the highlights are, everything is the same from last year, except I think there's 2 or 3 of them that I've changed. Let's go down to the first one, which would be damage repair replacement. It's probably the 6th down. Are we all on 42? Am I rushing? Cindy, are you all set?
I was kind of half, so I'm
Okay.
sorry. So page
I'm sorry.
42.
42.
Sorry. I will tell you, I was like, what page? I'll
Just
admit it.
real quick, Suzanne, if you want it, just so that we don't,
I missed all the niceties at the beginning.
Yes, but I'm just thinking there is a change to the electricity. Do you want
Yeah,
to
I
cover
went
those
out-
two things real quick, or do you want to do the?
Electricity and the heat, it's 3%, or 7%. We've been renting it out a lot. We've been using it for different youth groups. So that's why I'm bumping the heat. The heat is one of those things that it's up and down. I'm not really sure how to get a firm handle on the heat or electricity, because we do rent it out, and we're starting to have classes at night and early in the morning.
And do you think that the electricity, the gas or the electricity, is that price increases? Or do you think?
I think it's use.
Combination
I
or
don't think it's
more
price
usage?
increases. The gas, I'm not really, gas is up and down anyway, especially for electricity. I think it's a usage that we're having it. We're keeping it open at night a little bit more, on the weekends more. Different functions are coming in. That's why I went up that small bit.
So those would be offset somewhere else if it's being rented out anyway?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
All right, so.
Damage repair.
Damage repair, we have been there since, we bought the building in 2008. So 5 years, there's wear and tear coming down. A couple years ago, it was $4,000 for the building. Last year, it was $500. We're gonna blow through that. We need new carpeting. It's starting to come up. I do have the revolving account that bounces that back, but as I use that up to repair things at the center, it's slowly going down, and I'm not, renting it out is a great idea, but it's tough on my staff, myself personally. I don't want to spend every weekend at the senior center. And there's got to be somebody there responsible, especially if we have youth groups there. I find myself there a couple of nights a week. I don't want to be there. So that's why I'm not asking for the total amount before, because I can totally understand about the town. I'm just asking for a little more. We had to replace some tiles in our kitchen area that were coming up, redo the floors, because they're just grungy. We don't have a maintenance that keeps on coming in, every 6 months, once a year, just to clean the whole building. And it's a huge building. Moving on.
Can I ask a quick question?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, if we're doing just the bigger ones first, the gas and oil budget that was up 8.1, is that on the vans? I think if we're just
No, no,
gonna,
where are we, I'm sorry, Cindy.
oh, we just going line by line, we're gonna do? I
Yeah,
thought
I'm just
they were
doing the ones that I'm bumping up.
Right, that was one of the ones I was looking at, I guess, that and the postage.
Okay, so let's go to postage first, because that's the one that's bumped up next. And then we'll go to that one.
Okay.
Postage is always an issue with us, because that is the only way that we get a lot of our information out. A lot of my seniors aren't computer literate or don't have their own computers. And I think it's strange to say in 2014, but that's the reality of it. I have a different group that has always supported or actually branched the postage. I have to honestly say, when I put this postage budget together, postage went up 2 weeks ago. So now, it used to cost me $280 a month to send out 1,700 newsletters. Now it's costing me $308 for the 1,700. I'm trying to work out that people who can come to the senior center, they can pick up their newsletter instead of mailing it out. It just is so costly for us.
So is it like a default once you sign up? Or
Yeah,
you automatically go on
I
that
think
list?
my game plan is that if people want their newsletter mailed to them, they need to pay $5 a year. It's wear and tear. I've got volunteers coming in. It's $1,700. They love doing it. But as the postage go up, I'm asking for more money. The $1,680 right here will do 5 months of newsletters, roughly. But people are constantly, can I get on your newsletter list? Can I come off of it? We do take them off when they get voted off the island, but we're adding more as the months go on. So I'm still trying to work that out. So if we can kind of table that line item until I figure it out, I'll come back to you guys. I'm hoping that come next fiscal year, the $5, everybody will be on board with it.
Okay.
So is that, everybody good?
Good.
I'm going to ask to Rick, to the chair, about Suzanne's point. No offense. Silly question for you. Can you introduce a fee to a end user that is substantially in excess of what it costs to actually provide that service? Reason why I asked the question
Well-
is 1,700 divided by 308 is 18 cents per newsletter.
In principle, user fees are supposed to reflect, just in some fashion, the cost associated with producing it. Now, that could be the cost of mailing, that could be the cost of producing the newsletter and mailing, so, in principle, I think I agree with your point, but I don't know entirely what that fee would be intended to cover. Is it the newsletter too, or is it just the mailing?
Well, if we go with the newsletter is printed out free for us right now, of a company that we have always used and most COAs use. It costs them $6,000 to mail out our newsletter to print our newsletter every single month. With the advertising that is put into the newsletter, that offsets the price. Unfortunately, they are only getting $4,000 for the to print out this newsletter. And I'm sorry, I said a month, but I meant a year. $4,000. So we are short $2,000. Right now, the company and I are having discussions because they want me to bridge that gap of the $2,000. That's why I'm trying not to send them all out. That's where the bridge comes out. Because I don't think this board would give me $2,000 to print out my newsletters per year. It's just ridiculous.
So
I'm
the fees
trying
intended
to.
to cover the bridge and the mailing.
Right now we have a group that's going out and asking for advertising, local advertising, just to bridge that $2,000 gap. And that would be fantastic. They're doing a great job. They're all seniors. If anybody wants to advertise in the senior newsletter, they're more than welcome to.
Would they contact?
Oh, I shouldn't say her name. Okay, they can contact.
But
me.
you,
Yeah, they
your
can-
contact information, just so if anyone's watching and wants to.
COA director at abingtonma.com.
Good.
I'm
Go.
sorry, DOCA. I'm sorry.
Like there's something going on we're not aware of.
So that's the reason. It just came up in the last couple of weeks, so that's why we're trying to figure out how to make it all work without spending a ton of money for it. So, does that answer your question?
It does. It's
Okay.
just the way it comes out, if you take all the numbers you just described, $2,000 gap plus your postage.
Right.
It comes out. to
And I just threw up $5 because it's just an easy,
I understand.
right now it's an easy hit.
$3.35 is what that cost is that you just described.
Okay.
So that's the reason I get sensitive. when I hear
That's
fees.
fine, that's okay. I won't remember. I have no idea. Postage, what was the next one?
Gas and oil.
Gas and oil. Right now, we were granted a brand-new van that's coming in the end of June. Yay. But we still have our backup van that we're going to be using. Right now, in the last probably 6 months, I've had 5 seniors give up their licenses. The new van that we're getting seats 12. The old van that we have seats 9.
And where did you get the van, Suzanne?
The first van was donated by Anderson Insulation in 2008. They gave us the money for the van, which was very nice of them. This van is from the MA TARP Grant Association that every other year you can apply for a new van. So they paid 90%, the town pays 10%, so I think the van was like $67,000 roughly. We're paying 10. The actual COA is paying 2 into it, and the town is paying 7. Rough figures, but it's great. Our wheelchair lift has worked and not worked. It really wasn't put together well. In our old van, this new van is going to have 2 lifts in it, so we can actually fit 3 wheelchairs in it, which is great. It does limit where we go. Right now, we go as far as Compass Medical in Bridgewater and into the Stenson building in Weymouth. I don't go into Rockland, into Norwell, any of that. I go as far as Brockton Hospital. We just don't have the time when somebody goes to get everyone.
Is the increase to reflect decreased mileage or the
Mileage,
cost of
gas,
fuel
yeah,
going up?
fuel, cost of mileage. The old van, we need some work to it. I'm trying to hold off on it until the new van comes. I don't know if I can. It's, you know, it's tires, it's just stuff every,
And you're gonna keep the old van once the new one gets here?
I'm gonna keep the old van and hopefully I won't need it, but I feel that in the next couple of years, I will need a secondary van. Just because I have, right now, we do 2 runs on Tuesdays and Thursdays for lunches, because we don't have enough seats. Priority for the van right now is all medical, and then everything else. But it's hard to tell someone, I'm really sorry, I know that you're going to your daughter's wedding, we cannot bring you to the hairdresser. Or we can't bring you grocery shopping. We find like right before a storm, everybody wants to take the van, and we are literally shoveling, trying to figure out how everybody can go. And people don't want to just go to Stop and Shop, Target. They want to go to True Cheese, and they want to go to the mall, and they, you know, it just makes it a little crazy. So we're all trying to switch everything around, just to try to accommodate everyone. Yes.
And the fees that you collect,
The fees that we collect, it's a suggested donation, it's
Right.
$3.
right? So those, I know that some of that, I think, was used to
Yes.
offset some of the town. Now, if that's
Yes.
building up in that again, we can use that to either repair a van, or we can use some of it for this gas and oil if necessary.
Can I use that for gas and oil?
I don't know, if it's van-related?
I know, I put it in a van gift account. So what, that comes out, my phones, because we have Bluetooth in the van, because I won't let the seniors pick up the phone, because I have senior drivers too. I don't want that happening, I want them to all be hands-free. So the $3, I put that in the gift account. The telephone, I think it's like $75 a month. But if I can use that, yeah, perfect.
Okay, and I have one other quick question. I think last year, I know when we did the budget and stuff, everything was really tight, but I know some money, I think, had gone in for increases for the van drivers because they hadn't been given increases
Yep.
with the intent they were getting their CDL licenses. Did they get those?
The problem with the CDLs, they were going for their CDL licenses. It got so hectic for them, they took it a couple of times and didn't pass. So what I did was revamp it, and instead of getting a 14-seat van, which anything over 12, you have to have your CDL, I brought back the van and got it for 12, like a 12-seater. I just revamped my grant, so it would be a 12, so we'd never have that problem again. But as the van drivers, I mean, the one who's been driving me forever has been there 6 years and never got a raise. So
No,
as
I'm
far
not,
as-
I'm not complaining. I just
Yeah.
know that that's the intent, you know, like when we put that in,
Right.
that was the
And that was,
intent
you
that
know,
we talked about. and-
Honestly, I wanted a bigger van. The CDL was more complicated than it was worth. It was easier for me to turn around and say, I want a 12-seater, than make them keep on going to these classes.
All right. Move on to the next one.
Is there a next one?
No, that was it.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah, the next page isn't even in.
Yep.
Great.
One pager.
Short and sweet.
That's what I do, one pagers. Any questions about anything going on in the center?
Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Great. Awesome, thank you so much.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you.
Pages library.
We're gonna ask them when they get up here, because they probably already have it. What page are you, Deb, do you know?
I don't know what page we are in the big document. We're 6100's the line item, so we're gonna be near the end.
Okay.
We have handouts, but they're quick. Send those that way and send these that way.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
What is it? 44, the bottom of
46.
44,
Yeah.
and then 46.
Just gonna send those and those, and I'll take the extras.
Oh, thank you.
Which would probably be useful.
You know everybody? You met Matt?
I'm the new guy. Yeah, we've met once. but-
Ken, maybe if I can just do a quick introduction here. Is that good?
Sure.
Especially for the people that might be watching us at home. My name is Henry DiCarlo, as I think all of you know, and I am the chairman of the Board of Library Trustees. And the library trustees are a 9-member elected board, the largest board in town, and we are responsible for the operation of the public library, and responsible for hiring the library director and overseeing the operations there. What Deb is going to be talking about today is about 1% of the town's budget. And we like to think we do, as you've heard me maybe say before, I think we like to think we do more with our 1% in providing voluntary services to the town. And we serve everybody from the infants that come in to seniors that we deliver to their houses, all age groups and all. So and Deb's going to talk about some values we provide to the town. We've been in the building for 16 years now. New building, 16 years, huh?
Wow.
Of course, there's still, Rick, you know, there's still some people that describe the Burton Wales as the new library, right?
Yeah.
But, so it's, and we are using it more and more and providing more and more services. So I'll leave it at that. I'll turn it over to Deborah, Deborah Grant, the library director here, and I'll take it from there.
Hello, thank you. Glad to see all of you. Jan, I have a quick introduction and then we'll go through the budget, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
And everything that I've given you as far as a handout tonight, I will email to all of you tomorrow, so that you have electronic copies if you so want them. I was trying to think of another way to present things because we come every year and we say the same things. So basically, this is very short and very simple. This is our departmental request, which is a total of $461,134 for fiscal 2015. The municipal appropriation requirement, which is the amount needed for state certification for fiscal 2015, is $458,217. So that figure. Briefly, for anybody listening at home, libraries are required to be certified by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. If you're decertified, there are dire consequences, including the possibility of losing interlibrary loans. We've had this conversation many times, so I'll end there with that. So the municipal appropriation requirement is the amount based on a fairly complex calculation figure that the state requires for a particular library for the fiscal year, and that's ours for 2017.
So you're coming in just over it?
Just over, yep. And I built the, I would like to point out, I built the budget from the bottom and then and then after I had come up with the 461,134, I then went and calculated municipal appropriation requirement. I like to do that because it's always interesting to see how close the state actually is in making the numbers work, and I was pleasantly surprised. They were pretty close. What I decided to do this year that's a little bit different is I took the recently completed fiscal year, 2013, and the library budget for 2013, which was actually the exact municipal appropriation requirement, was $446,451. I then took the American Library Association Value of Library Services calculator. I give you the link, and it essentially assigns values to all different kinds of things. Dropped in our statistics for fiscal 2013 and came up with the total value. And this is selective. This does not include things like study room use. There are things that I didn't calculate, but a partial or most value of services, and this would be for residents, was $2,027, $146.35. I think the 35 cents is very important.
Yes.
Couple of things to point out briefly. We are still very much a book library. The biggest amount would be value of books borrowed at just over $1.3 million. And, but I would also like to point out that we are a 21st century library, and 21st century services are growing. 5 years ago, we didn't have any ebooks, so that value would be zero. And last year, ebooks borrowed came in at 39,390. And computer use per hour for people who are using the internet came out at 38,688. So that's the better part of $80,000 on services one service that didn't exist 5 years ago, and one that existed in a very limited amount, I'd say going back about 12 years. So That's that. I'm not going to go through the rest of it. You can certainly read
And Monday
yourself.
night at our trustees meeting, one of the trustees suggested to Deborah that she show a return on investment at the bottom.
Yes.
I figured coming in front of numbers people, that might work, you know, and, you know, you can see, you know, for the dollars invested, the value that the town gets from this 1% of the budget.
So then moving along to the budget.
Do you have an investment policy now?
Yes, they give us money, and we use it wisely.
Make the policy statement, just take it by population served, the expense per population served, compared to the value per population served.
Okay.
That'll actually be better.
All right.
There's a monopoly.
Can you do the calculation for us?
I don't know what population you want to use.
Total
Kidding,
population
Sean.
of town is just under
Oh,
16,000.
There's a consultative fee of
And there are, no, that's 16,000, is that 7,000 have library cards?
Yes.
So while Sean's calculating that,
Yeah.
And when
And
we.
that doesn't count Brother Mike's that's expired 20 years ago.
Yeah, mine did too.
And I also, when we mentioned the library card thing, I also should point out the network database is purged every, I believe it's now 2 years of inactive cards. So that's just about 7,000 cards that have been used in the last 24 months. Yeah, this is a community that uses and supports the library. So moving on to the budget, places where we have, do you want to ask me questions or do you want me to talk?
take us through the highlights.
Okay, we'll go through the highlights. Salary budget is more than last year's. Part of that is the union raise, which we would like to thank you for supporting. That was a one-year agreement, so this fiscal 15 is based on union salary at the fiscal 2014 rate. The other addition to the salary line, at the request of the trustees, we submitted a budget that includes a 3% increase for the non-union staff. And I would like to point out that the non-union members of the non-union members of the library staff last received a raise on July 1st, 2009. And I also, for the purposes of full disclosure, will point out that that does include me, as well as the non-union part-time assistants and the reference librarian. And because I know somebody's going to ask me, the cost of the non-union 3% total is $2,998.39. So that's the salary line. I believe I also dropped $400 in the sick leave incentive, which I had cut out last year. That's a fairly accurate figure over the last 3 or 4 years in union sick leave incentive. We've paid out between $350 and $400, so that seemed reasonable based on past practices. And then electricity and gas did not change very much. Building repair and maintenance changed quite a bit. Again, this was a directive from the Board of Library Trustees. A 16-year-old, 16,000 square foot building does require a certain amount of money to maintain. And last year, the budget was not terribly accurate. So that particular line item, we were overexpended by about $5,000. Now, we had the rest of it in the budget. The entire budget, I want to stress, was not overexpended. However, if we're going to have a budget with line items, my theory is it would be nice for the line items to have some basis in reality. So I'm thinking that 13.8 is maybe a little bit more realistic.
Debbie, you still using that like really old computer to run the?
Yes.
Okay.
We are still using the Windows 1995 computer to run the, yes, Hal, to run the HVAC system. So yes, we are. And, you know, things, a building that has almost 80,000 public people come in through the door in a year receives some wear. I mean, you know, things happen. We were fortunate, we had the carpets cleaned this year. I think the carpets are in amazingly good shape considering the foot traffic and the age of the building. But things do, you know, we have, you know, plumbing issues, you know, faucets wear out, lights have issues, so that's where building repair and maintenance goes.
Deb, excuse me, can I just add, roof, how are we doing with that? Because that had always been an issue, and then there was a thing that you did, I think, with Moberg or something, that they come out every year now and they look at it. How are we doing with that?
I think it's better, but it still has its issues. It's inspected twice a year, and based on those inspections, repairs are made, and then we have the oddities. The windstorm on the day before Thanksgiving lifted the ridge cap on the south front corner of the building, which would be the Copeland Room corner of the building, requiring a temporary repair that'll be fixed in the spring. And recently, on the very high part of the roof, there's rubber up there, and there are some holes in the rubber. We had a wet spot on the ceiling, and they have temporarily repaired that, which is good, so no more water. So right now, we're looking at a $775 bill in the spring to repair the roof. At some point, sooner rather than later, the roof is going to need to go into the capital plan.
Does the inspections put a life expectancy on it?
No, they haven't. The original life of in the original building program, I believe it was 20.
20, yeah, we're at 16 into it, so. But the inspections are very inexpensive on an annual basis, to have this contract. It's been very well worth it. And they're also then available to us on call because we're an established client. So
are they making the repairs when they're doing the inspection if they find them?
Either when they're doing it or depends on what they
the
found.
repair.
But they may come to us and say, this is a $600 repair.
Yep.
How do you want to do it?
Okay.
They took the one that they found on the high spot. They did a temporary patch because of the weather conditions.
Yeah, nobody's
They won't be going back up to deal with the rubber until it's warmed up.
Okay.
Office equipment that would be the maintenance contract on the staff copy machine. The public copy machine is donated by, I believe it's,
You had to do that.
Bay Copy.
Bay Copy,
Sorry.
yes.
Oh my goodness, that's embarrassing. They've been providing a public copy machine for a long time, and they graciously provide the toner and the paper for that. So we only have to worry about the maintenance on the staff copy machine. Other property-related services is custodial. That's cleaning, and some money for carpet cleaning and window cleaning. Professional and technical budget always confuses everybody. That is the network assessment. That's what we pay to OCLN, the Old Colony Library Network, to run our integrated library system, and it's our membership dues, and happily went down. I was quite pleased with that. So that was nice.
And if I can interject.
Does that get cut off? Do you know?
I don't have the odd numbered pages.
Yeah.
Oh, because it goes in this way. So this is 44, this is 45 is blank, 46. So you should only have even numbered.
Okay.
But it doesn't have.
But it doesn't,
You
yeah.
wanna work
that
off
it-
not what I handed out tonight, but what you had prior to that.
Okay.
Work off the binders.
Good enough.
Yeah.
Okay, because of course I made this part of my binder.
The binder says draft.
Pointed out to me that saving money on the backside of copies is probably not. in the long run.
Speaking of copies, is that a service plan that's increased to 12%, or is it just what you're expecting it to?
That's my I tend to estimate incorrectly on that. It seems I guess every year how much is going to increase, and then I'm off by like $27, and we end up being in the red. So this year I pushed it a little bit higher, hoping that it might actually stay where it is. But that's a total estimate. That bill comes in late July, early August, and at this point in the year, they're not going to be able to tell me what it will be.
And if I could just say, for the Old Colony Library Network, for the network services, we could not operate this library without that. I think some of you have heard me say that before. I mean, this is all the computer services, all the cataloging, all the things that, the value we get from that payment is.
Expand your reach.
Expand your reach, but just from an operational standpoint, I mean, the whole library runs off that network and those services and those communication links.
Without even going outside.
So it's your
of-
internal filing
Yeah.
system
Yeah.
also?
Yeah, everything is there now. We have to get out the old card catalog.
And an exciting
Do you
thing,
remember that?
OCLN has signed a contract to move to a new integrated library system, which will include a new public interface, because our public catalog interface is very much 2005, 2006. technology and the newer catalog, the new catalog when it becomes live, which hopefully will be late August, early September, will allow a more seamless integration for things like e-resources, and also allow us to do things like link the library, our library calendar, which runs off the library's website, into the catalog, which runs off the network site. So there's some exciting opportunities for better patron services coming, and I might add a reduced cost from the network, which is really pretty neat. So let's see, postage. We don't send a lot in terms of mailings. Some overdue notices, the bulk are emailed, and then, you know, the odd formal thank you note, things like that. So postage is, I think, $4.50 is reasonable. Office and computer supplies are exactly what they say they are. The computer maintenance budget is software licensing and some outside maintenance for library-specific functions. Wayne Norling has been wonderful and is really a great resource for us for a lot of our computer functions. But some of the library-specific ones, we do pay somebody who has some expertise in that idea. We have software that dispenses, for lack of a word, time vending software for the public computers. We have a program called Deep Freeze on all of the public computers, which essentially allows the computers to, when they are rebooted, it wipes off anything heinous, any viruses, anything anybody might have done to the computer. And that software is somewhat difficult to manage. So that's what we do with computer maintenance. Technical supplies are things like book covering, library cards, yes, we just bought library cards, barcodes, so on. Custodial supplies would be light bulbs, paper towels, toilet paper. And then the big one is books and magazines, which there's another state requirement that goes with materials expenditure for patrons, which would be the books and magazines, and 15% of the total library budget needs to be expended on patron materials. So the bare bones minimum 15% for next year is $69,470, and I came in at $70,199, so that's pretty close. And then travel is mileage reimbursement for staff for going to meetings.
Questions, anyone?
And there was silence.
Just a general comment, we do have some trust funds, and we are, the trustees, Director Deborah, and we are trying to sort of conserve them right now because we've tapped into them during some of these tight years that we've had, and the interest rates have been abysmal, as you know. So we've drawn them down a little bit more than we'd like, and I'm hoping that, you know, we'll be able to build them up a little bit more in the, you know, in the time when there is a budget that we can operate from without dipping into those to make up some shortfalls. And the trustees are very happy not to have to go and beg for waivers and things from the state not making the requirements. So making the requirement to us is critical. You know, it's critical, and it is worth. Well, it changes from year to year, but it's worth, you know, significant number of dollars in state aid money that we can utilize for additional services and improvements in the library. Cindy?
State aid, how are we doing this? Are you still following that same protocol where you get the state aid and you kind of hold it to be able to use, so you've been
Yes.
able to continue with that practice?
It's been at least 40 years that we've been doing that, where any state aid that we receive this year, we hold aside, and that was a recommendation from, I think from Wilbur Hollis. How far does that go back? To not use the money in the year, because you never know what you're going to get from the state and when it's going to come in, so we always hold that over and utilize that in the following year, and that's been a wonderful plan for us for the last 40 years, because we then know what we can plan for, what expenditures we can plan for that way.
Do we have any employees that are being paid with the state aid right now? I think, didn't we do that every once in a while if we really needed to vamp up? Are we able to be out of that cycle now?
Happily, for the most part, yes. For fiscal 2011, we paid 80% of a full-time employee's salary out of state aid and all of the part-time employees out of state aid, to the tune of about $43,000.
Which is why we're depleted.
Which is, yes. However, for the budget for fiscal 2014 and the budget we've submitted for fiscal 2015, the entire library staff's regular scheduled hours are included on the town side, which is very nice.
And like many other state aid accounts, the numbers have gone down somewhat.
And by doing that, though, I think the reason that we did that, or it was done, was to maintain the library hours. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to do, so there was a purpose.
Yep.
Okay.
And we're still using state aid for staffing. This year in the state aid budget, we budgeted, I think, $5,600 to $5,700 for staffing. At this point, we are using that for extra staffing. When we have programs which draw people from the community in, it's nice to be able to have an extra body at the desk. We've used that to cover sick time. We had somebody who was out on a 2-week sick leave, and we brought people in to cover. And so that's still funded out of state aid. And it's nice to be able to have more staffing, especially on Saturdays. We typically run with 3 people on Saturdays. People like, especially for children's programs, people like to come to programs on Saturdays. If you're going to do a program and you're going to take a staff member out of the mix, then you need to pay another body to be there. So that's worked out very well for us this year, and I anticipate going forward into next year.
Other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deb.
I just
And
leave with
Henry.
the thought that we need to make that municipal appropriation number.
And I will say, I gave you all a calendar for Abington Reads. Please come and join us. Please read Defending Jacob. Last year, we had over 400 members of the community participate in Abington Reads. I'd like the number to go up. And tell your friends. Author William Landon will be here on March 24th.
Just to, this is going to come up, I'm certain, at some point in this budget examination. What percent of the town's budget spend has to be your budget? So budget, so we get either, I'm just trying to remember if I can recall.
You can't cut them
In a
disproportionately.
Yeah.
Right. So you're 3,000 away from state waiver zone, so to speak?
Mm-hmm.
And if the town is so compelled based on its financial needs, what percent cut could you absorb?
Down to the appropriation requirement would be ideal. If unfortunately it had to go below that, it would need to be proportionate with other town departments.
The state will not grant us a waiver on the state aid requirement if we are disproportionately cut compared to other departments. And what happens in many towns is they look and they'll look at the library, well, we can cut that. And the state says, no, you're not going to get a waiver, you're not going to be able to borrow from other towns on it if you're not supported at least at it parity with the other departments in the town.
I'm sure that the community has been fairly responsive and very collaborative, at least the last few budgets like this, whereby we had to kind of make difficult decisions. And I think you didn't have a waiver last year, is that right?
The initial budget, we did not have a waiver in 2013. For 2014, the initial budget required a waiver, thanks to the grace of the town manager, the board of selectmen, the finance committee, and I think me nagging a lot and hammering and making people very bored with me. The fall town, special town meeting addressed that particular issue, so we submitted the intent to file for a waiver, however I was able to withdraw it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Just need a break for us, or?
Does anybody want a break?
Again, thank you all for being here, your time. I know this begins the budget season for you. Spending a lot of days here.
Yeah.
Hopefully we're looking at the same thing. I've got this broken down by the line items, so even if not on the same literal page, I can answer the question.
You have the old.
It's at home.
Okay.
I didn't get home
You
before.
can look on me, that's no problem.
Thank you.
Because that's different, he said it was.
Yeah.
But I give you a quick update as to where we're at. 2013 really brought everything together into fruition from a lot of the support that the town has given the fire department the last couple of years. For the first time, the fire department's back to full staff, meaning 4 or 5 man shifts. This is the first time I have everybody out of the fire academies. Right now, we're running, every shift is filled. It's the first time in a long time.
Great.
We were able to do that by getting 2 members in the Boston Fire Academy. That's the first time Abington's ever done that. They just graduated actually last Tuesday. However, they've been on shift since January 1st. January 1st of 2014 is the first time we've had every shift filled.
Nice.
Without a vacancy, either from the fire academy or from a line of duty injury. Knock on wood, right now, as of 6 o'clock tonight, we haven't been injured. That, as you know, can change at a moment's notice, especially weather like this. The ice, the slip and fall, you could lose anybody, something minor that. But right now, we're at full staff. So I want to thank you for that. Also, getting 2 members in the Boston Fire Academy saved, it pretty much negated the salary budget cut that we took in FY14. Because I was able to get them in sooner. Had I waited for the date that the State Fire Academy had given me, I would have still been maintaining those shifts with overtime. That pretty much negated the cut that we took, so that's not a plus for us doing that.
Was that something Boston's just started to allow, or?
No, it was absolute luck. I tried Brockton, I tried the state, and I applied to Boston Fire Academy. As soon as I had these personnel hired, I had them lined up to go into the State Academy with a date which would have begun this month. And the previous Boston chief was able to fit my 2 in their most recent class, so I was able to move them forward. They went into the academy back in, I think it was October. So that worked out very well. As well as one of the other hires that did go to the state, he graduated November 1st. So by December, the end of December, everybody was back on. Those 3 positions were to replace 3 retirements that I had a year ago. So FY15 is somewhat apples and oranges to FY14 and FY13 previous to that, which I'll get into a couple of line items here. Because of the change in personnel, getting them in, getting them out, getting them trained, we've had a huge change. This is 8 new members in the department. It's a third of the department, almost a half the department. If you count the other newer officers I've had as well as the captains, we've had major change there in the last 3 years. We also saw the fruition of the radio grant that we got a year ago. That's in place. The only thing I'm waiting for is my antenna to finally be built so I can make the final connections on that. That's running into a few difficulties we're dealing with now, but that's proceeding. We have all new radio equipment, all new portable radios, vehicle radios, radio infrastructure in the station. We completely gutted the communications room that we have at the station. Again, that was all paid for by a federal grant. We were successful in getting a state, as well as a FEMA grant, to replace the air bottles. You recall a year ago, our bottles were at the end of their life cycle. The town kind of fronted the bill, but we were able to reimburse the town because that grant did come through. This year, the grant we're writing we're requesting about $183,000 to replace all of the hose that we have. A lot of the hose goes back to the 60s. Most of it's the 80s. It's time. It's just that's not something I have in my budget to absorb. I'll talk briefly if there's time about some of the capital requests in the future, but the need's getting there for a lot of these things. So right now, we're doing pretty good. A lot of the vehicles are doing okay. We were able to get a new used 1982 engine from Bridgewater, which replaced the old yellow engine, if you remember that we got from the air base, which really wasn't serviceable. The engine we just got from Bridgewater, it was free of charge. We put a little bit of money into it, or the highway department did for us, bringing it up to our needs. And that is a spare piece, but that also ultimately saves wear and tear on the ladder truck, which is now 25 years old and is getting very expensive to repair. You wouldn't think that a spare engine at Station 2 ultimately saves the ladder truck, but by moving the other spare engine up front, we're running a second engine for any second calls, where previously we had been running the ladder truck for a second medical call for years, for 25 years. I've stopped that practice. Now the ladder truck is getting much fewer responses. It's really only going on fire calls, but it's also saving the wear and tear on the truck. So that's near the end of its life cycle. That's a 25-year-old truck, and they're very expensive. So we're trying to squeeze more years out of that as best we can. We also got a free pickup truck from, it came from Bridgewater, but ultimately it was from the State Department of Conservation. It's still down the highway, they're repainting it for us. It's a utility truck, just a regular pickup truck, four-wheel drive, but that's gonna tow the former police command trailer, which the police chief gave to us. We sat on it for a couple of years. I didn't have money in the budget to do anything with it. But this year, we finally were able to recondition it for the fire service needs, and it's gonna be more for dive and tech rescue in the area. This is gonna go outside of Abington with some of our divers to use, as well as if we have a large incident in town, or if any other needs in town once it's ready. I need that pickup truck to tow it, because previously the only thing we could tow it with is the forest fire truck, and I don't wanna take that out of town. So we're doing pretty good equipment-wise, at really zero cost to the town. So,
Thank you, Bridgewater. it sounds
Yeah.
like.
Bridgewater gets a lot of grants because of the prison and the college. I'm glad we don't have a prison in town.
Yeah.
I'm glad we don't have a college in town, so we're able to, as they're getting newer equipment,
Although
it kind of filters down to
I
us.
take the prison, take the prison.
Where'd the yellow truck go? Is that,
Yellow truck is surplus down the highway department. I think right now they're cannibalizing it for parts.
okay.
So, it's still, as well as an old ambulance that was behind Station 2 for years, really kind of just rotting away, so they're cannibalizing that. This year, we cleaned out behind both stations. Storage has been an issue at our stations for years. I purchased, between FY14 and FY13, just some steel storage containers, some secure containers, just to get us some room. So we moved some of the junk behind Station 2, some of this junk behind Station 1, through the cooperation of the highway department. Now we have some secure, weather-tight storage, and that gives us a little bit of room in the stations. Those of you who have seen my stations, it's like walking around a submarine. There really is not much room in there. So that, again, that was out of the operational budgets over 2 years. We're able to afford that. It's a Band-Aid, but it's fairly a long-term Band-Aid, as the town manager said earlier, which I agree with.
Generational.
Generational Band-Aid. But it works. It gives us some more space. So. The FY15 budget request, this is a level service budget request. There are a couple of spikes you'll see in here. Really, those spikes are to compensate for the budget cuts the previous town manager took. He took a few arbitrary budget cuts in my FY14 budget, and I'm trying to get those back. The salary side of my current FY14 budget, again, barring any injuries, was negated by sending them to Boston, as I explained. That was a major savings to our budget, and I kind of feel that we're back on track again for the rest of the fiscal year with that. My expense budget took a hit. He cut us, I think it was about $10,000 in radio equipment because we got a radio grant. I can understand his reasoning on that, or his thought on that. However, we still have other radios that were not covered by the grant, and that ultimately is still part of my expense account. Maintaining the vehicles, we have had some major repairs to the newest frontline engine as well as the newest frontline ambulance this year. They've both been towed twice to get repairs. Anytime you tow a fire truck, it's an expense, it's a big deal. And then once, that's just to get it to the place to get it repaired. Some of it was under warranty, most of it is not. So between the assistance of the highway department, if there's anything they cannot handle, and they're very, very good. We have a great highway maintenance department, but some things they have to send out to either Allison Transmission, Detroit Diesel, or, I'm sorry, Cummins Diesel, or for the ambulance down to Attleboro where it was manufactured. Depending on what the vehicle warranty says, sometimes they have to be repaired at those facilities. And that really has become an expense for us this year. So I'm working very hard to stay within the budget for the expense account this year. But one of the spikes in here you'll see is to try to get back to where we really need to be the previous years, prior to the former town manager's budget cut. If you want, I can go down these line item by line item, unless you have a question at this point.
You want to go line by line?
I'd rather, I mean,
However you want to do it, I can be explaining.
unless there's a
anything you want.
question on a line, I'd rather go over what the increases or decreases
Yeah.
are, what the changes are,
Sure.
where you have changes.
Most of them are just very small, it's contractual changes throughout.
Where are you at with your contracts, John?
This
What
is
year
their
is this?
final year, this is year 15, it's the third and final year of the current union contract. They got a 1.5% raise across the board, and that was it for this year. The current fiscal year, FY14, they had a number of changes, which it's reflected in here, it was reflected last year as well. Operationally, trying to figure the budget, that was interesting, but we got over that, so that was taken care of. A few of these went up a little bit, some actually at vacation time went down because of the newer employees. They don't accrue as much vacation time. That's a benefit right now. Eventually in the future, that will creep back up again, but.
Is that the sick leave?
No,
buyback, the decrease here?
Vacation time, I'm probably jumping ahead for you.
Oh, okay.
Probably next page.
The first one, line item, the overtime budget, 5130, that had a 35% variance from the previous year. That's not mean it's 35% higher, I believe. That was one of the cuts the previous town manager took. Now, when I said FY14 or calendar year 13 to calendar year 14 really is apples and oranges. We had 3 people in the fire academy, 3 people maintaining those shifts. And that was split with 2 fiscal years. Moving forward, as well as, we've also had a much busier activity season this year. We've had a lot of fires, as you've probably seen in the news. We had a lot of multi-day brush fires in the fall, which you may not have known. That's all overtime. And the overtime usage for this, for FY14 is a lot higher than FY13. So I need to really reflect the true numbers on that for FY15 going forward. We're getting busier as we move forward. Also, with the retirements, there was a period where until I hired the new people, those salaries were off the budget, so everybody's back to full staff again. And we have to pay the weekly salaries. And hopefully now that we don't have to pay the overtime cost as much as filling those vacancies. So there's been a lot of shifting back and forth with here.
So you think, so the overtime is 219 versus the actual so far for this year is 167?
That was the actual, yeah, the request is 219, correct.
So even with all those full staff and everything, I think you'll still need 219?
Yes. Based on the number of, the average number of callbacks we've been having.
So that's just
more
one.
people can come back now because we have more bodies. Not that they always do, but they're coming back for the major calls. Some of the education and incentive budget increased slightly as some of our newer employees, we have 8 new employees in the last 2 years, and they're all starting to go to college now. They're taking advantage of that benefit, so I have to reflect that. That's gone up a little bit because of that.
I don't have it, but I'll just run my map at the same page. This is a question that you would know as you were in your intermediate passing your right arm. And with the state's transition to the National Registry of EMTs, you see a concomitant decrease in the mandatory training hours. I would actually say sizable. So how many members total would be impacted? If you look at, as a paramedic, I have to take 12 hours of training in a 2-year cycle. The cost to recertify is the same. So the challenge back would be is, did you find 12 hours per paramedic in your department to decrease any of your ComEd line items by?
We did. We actually did decrease this beginning FY14 because a lot of their training is now rolled into the base. However, if they have to go to training, either the annual DOT refreshers or some other training, if they are scheduled to work on those shifts, I have to cover those shifts. That's really where a lot of this training is going.
So here's
where that cost is going.
So this might be an issue of collective bargaining because DOT refreshers don't exist anymore. Right. So as of the recertification year for 15, which is the next one coming up, they don't offer a DOT refresher. So as a BLS provider 24, your 36 hours doesn't exist any further, my 48 doesn't exist. It's now all rolled into national, local, and independent individual training.
Correct.
So to that end, I wonder how.
I agree, that will be collective bargaining. That is, as soon as I saw the changes coming with this, and of course, they just rolled it into the base, and now they're changing the rules. Not, the union rolled it into the base, and now the state is changing the rules of the training. And I was thinking the same thing as soon as that.
There's another, this is a comment on piece. I noticed that you have 21 members who get a mass stipend, 21 members who get an EpiPen stipend. No, of course.
That is an area, and I know we spoke on this before, we spoke with this individually, just with our own budget. It definitely has to be changed. This is the last year of their contract. The union is aware of these, it needs to be cleaned up.
So it's masked, so it's military anti-shock trousers. There used to be a convention where that if you sustained multi-system trauma, you put these funky little pants on, you'd inflate the legs, inflate the abdominal quadrant to try to get as much blood to your heart and your brain. And they were proven not to work, they killed people. So then they said just use them for a splint in case you have a pelvic fracture. And they said that doesn't work either, that's gonna kill people. So they just took it away from our scope of training. They said just take them away completely. So when I see, as John and I talked before, it's one of those to scratch your head.
And there's a number of them on here too, and the union's aware of it. A lot of these predated paramedics, quite frankly. A lot of these stipends, they predated ALS. ALS, we moved fairly quickly when that came on. And now when you look at this again, it's really, these I believe are gonna be subject to collective bargaining. And the union's aware of that. I'm really waiting for the contract to expire.
But the contract does call for those stipends today, and
That's why they're still here for this year. So again, the college degrees have gone up slightly. That's reflects that increase. Moving forward to the holidays, I'm on the holiday line item 5142. That actually, yeah, that's the same. I'm thinking vacations. That's about the same as well, just with the contractual pay raise across the board that reflected that. There was a 100% increase because it's a new benefit, which is the weekend differential for the 19,000. That was new to the contract. That's why that reflects as new.
The Friday night to Monday morning?
Correct.
3% differential. And that wasn't in their contract last?
That began July 1st. So that's in FY14. That's in the current fiscal year. I'm not sure really why it's reading 100% because it just didn't have it to reflect on last year.
Oh, maybe, you know what,
Actually,
probably
I think that
because
was-
it might have
that was
not
moved
have
to
been a
the
line
line.
item.
That was moved to
Yeah.
the line
It might have
item.
been
Line
someplace
item.
different in the budget, so it's,
The stipends, as Sean talked about, they're delineated down there. Vacation budget, that actually decreased 4%, again, because the new employees just don't have as many accrued weeks as veteran employees that have retired. And most of the other things moving down, until you get to the other benefits, they're very minor, just contractual increases. There is one more increase here I did request, I'm not sure if this will go forward. In the other benefits, I'm looking for an additional $4,000 for protective clothing for rescue or dive equipment. This is in the same grouping as the fire coats, the pants, the helmets, the masks that we have now with their clothing allowance. This is something that comes up every year. They have a request for whether it be a tech rescue harness to be on rope or more significantly, it's dive equipment. We have 4 certified rescue divers now. And they're looking for more advanced equipment. They needed some full face masks to protect themselves from a lot of the bacteria in some of the area ponds. That's, in every year, I really don't have the money for that, so I tried to increase that significantly. So that increased that portion, I think 24% because of that.
Does that outfit all of the 4 divers, or is that just enough for one?
4 divers, that's 4 divers, correct.
4 at 1,000 each.
Yep. And that's pretty much it for the salary side, unless you have any questions. Moving ahead to the expense side, again, it's all, it's really level service, almost if not level funded, with the exception of the equipment repair and maintenance. That went back up. It's showing a 70% increase. That's because that's what I'm trying to put the 10,000 the town manager took from the radios. It's a little bit of a shuffle back, but That's where that will be going to get us back where we need to be.
Back on the page. This one.
Everything else is almost a 0%.
Okay. No, you know what
County dispatch is up 10%.
That went up 10%, correct, I was gonna talk on that. They're requesting an additional $10,000 a year for that. However, we're gonna get a good benefit out of that, because some of that reflects changes in the dispatch software program that we're using. We're gonna start to get some laptops for the vehicles for that, as part of that. So it really, it's an additional $10,000 cost. However, we're gonna start to get laptops, as well as some other benefits that we're seeing in our dispatch and fire reporting software. We've merged ours with theirs, we're sharing it now. So we're getting extra portions of that we had not had before.
So that 10 will actually cover the laptops or just the town operating?
Cover the laptop.
I still think it's an orthodox plan. It's good, don't get me wrong, Holbrook Fire, Holbrook County Control, if you will. How many towns do they currently dispatch for now?
Right now, they're dispatching for, I think it's 5 entities. It's Abington Fire, Sharon Fire, Whitman Fire somewhat. Whitman's partially, when Whitman empties their station, they're doing it. It's a little confusing to hear that, actually. I think all sides are agreeing on that, as well as Holbrook Fire and Holbrook Police.
And just as a point of clarification, just for my own mind and for listening, happy public, the principal reason why we moved over there was to cover the state EMD requirement, right? So on July 1st, 2012, the state put forward a requirement that you have to offer emergency medical dispatch on every time someone calls looking for medical assistance. They actually tied a grant to that. So I speak to you as a member of the Land Commission. So we tied that grant together. The town's response was saying, hey, listen, we don't want to have an empty station. We want the phones to ring. Holbrook has the capabilities. We're going to move over to Holbrook. The cost when we first moved over was
$100,000. Yep.
And are we contracted with them, or is this just an intermunicipal agreement that just says we're going to pay $100,000 for the service, and we're kind of on the hook for whatever they say they're going to charge us?
No, intermunicipal agreement, which either side could opt out within, actually it's 30-day notice, I believe it is. They asked, you know, it was somewhat of a negotiation with myself, with them, on the increase of $10,000. Abington is by far the busiest entity over there. That's the other reason we're trying to pay our dues on that. I disagree with you. The reason we went over there was not because of EMD. That was an added benefit.
Okay.
The reason we did this was the chronic emptying of the Abington fire stations, and any alarms coming in were coming into an empty station, which nobody knew about, the communications, the phones, on our end not being picked up. It really has solved all of that. That really has, we've become the model for the area. There's a lot more towns in the area, fire departments, that would like to opt in over there, but they're maxed out. Holbrook really doesn't have the room or the infrastructure now. They are going, and they have been successful in receiving a couple of grants to increase their area, to actually do a brick and mortar increase over there, to increase staff in the room, but they're not there yet.
They were given $287,924 as part of a grant, if you will, from the State One Commission, just to do that exploratory work, to build that regional communication center. The reason why I asked the question with regards to what I'll call per diem, the year-to-year relationship, is what ties do we have to kind of bind them from price increases? No, I agree with you. The laptops just really give data integration. It makes it so that you can actually have a seamless transition of the unnecessary requirements that you have to report on each of your calls that you have to go to. That makes it much more effective for the workforce that you have. I agree with that wholeheartedly. But the challenge next year is when they add 10%, that's $11,000. When they add 10%, you're up down $12,000 instead of down the line. What are the ties that we have to kind of bind those price increases?
They have been looking at, we've had a number of meetings over there looking on that. This is the first increase we've had in 2 years doing that, and we're actually getting the benefit for it, which at least it's not just an increase with it. If they broke it down to a per call thing, Abington, we would be paying more, I believe, depending on what it would be per call. Mainly because Abington Fire is averaging about 3,400 calls a year. It's almost twice what Holbrook's doing. It's close to Sharon, but we're still above them. We're just a busy department. So, you're right, going forward, there really isn't, but I think Holbrook understands that if they price us out, they're gonna lose us, and they really have no interest in doing that either. It's really a win-win for both towns right now.
Is it something,
The other issue that both chiefs continue to discuss is the feasibility of moving the operation into our current police station facility. So there's always going to be that cost-benefit factor that we'll be looking at. So it's not exactly a bad position to be in. But right now, I think the call volume is something that makes moving it in-house questionable whether or not the civilian dispatch corps could be recruited and trained to handle both the fire and the police volume. So that's, again, it continues to be looked at, and we'll get more serious about that, but we're still a ways away, certainly a fiscal year away from having any kind of legitimate recommendation on that.
is it something that would be considered to put into a contract where you know what the agreement's gonna increase going forward, next year it's gonna be 3% or something? Is that something that's being looked at?
Actually, we have. We have looked at a few different areas on that, but there's been no agreement on that. Sharon is in the same boat as we are. They don't want to really see anything increase majorly either, so that they're trying to protect their side.
And I think if you keep in mind too that particularly the fire chiefs collaboratively are essentially running this, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And so the chiefs have a lot to say about the cost inflation, the staffing and the cost inflation that would occur from that operation. So it's not simply a matter of getting the bill. There's a lot of input into how it's running and the factors that drive cost.
One of the goals of Norfolk County with the dispatch center is if they do have the $280,000 grant to look at the feasibility of building an addition over there to bring in more entities, more fire departments. Police are welcome, but right now it's really been fire. Because the more towns you bring in, or the more entities or departments, that really levels and stabilizes the cost for everybody. And that's the goal of what they're trying to do. So if they get another town or two in there, it kind of, you're held harmless, where there's really not as many need for the cost increase. Because you get a few more towns adding into that, and we can stabilize that. As well as when we looked at doing it here, I presented my figures a couple years ago, we were still looking about $250,000 per department, $250 for fire, $250 for police, not including health benefits. So this is giving us 24.
And it didn't even include the pipe, the line that you had to
Yeah, we
run
still have
and
some infrastructure we have
the
to
infrastructure
move,
that
yeah.
needed to be.
Correct. And we had that cost anyway, like the whole.
Right.
But
Stay with Holbrook. Just the only caveat is going to be is that with the annual, we don't know.
Mm.
And to your point, and a bit of a counterpoint, Chief, is that I would disagree. I wouldn't want to see the Holbrook grow, because I think that you're going to see a degradation of service. I think many examples of Rex have demonstrated that, yes, we have 8 towns under management. It can't be all things to all people in simultaneity.
And that's why they've held now. That's why they're not taking, there's definitely an interest. There was an interest from Canton, there's an interest from Avon, somewhat of an interest from Stoughton. There's no room for it. And I think we all agree with that. And so, they're not trying to take something on that they could not handle, because they still do the state hazmat team, they do Norfolk County control. Anytime there's a major fire in Norfolk County, they're handling and coordinating those resources as well. Any hazmat, incident hazardous materials, incident in the state where they have to notify the Department of Fire Service, they're running it from Holbrook. They've got their act together. But you're right, they don't want to get too big, and they're cognizant of that. Abington's the busiest town they have. The good thing is Abington, we've been very easy to work with them. I think the Abington Fire Department also has our act together with protocols, policies, how we're going to respond to different types of emergencies, what apparatus. We've been very forthcoming, giving them the fire alarm information as well as the contact information for the fire alarm owners. So it really has worked seamlessly with us. With Whitman, they're doing it somewhat part-time. They have different terminology. We've really kept the terminology all the same. It's easier for them. Abington, Holbrook, and Sharon, we're using the same terms now. They've actually copied us, which is great. so we don't have to learn new terminology for it, so. However, the Abington call volume is still, we're almost Sharon Fire and Holbrook Fire put together. For whatever reason, we're a busy town. So, that being said, yeah, that kind of worries me about, if I was Sharon, why are we paying the same as another town doing twice the call volume? So, in the future, it could be an issue. And if that was the case, that's why we're still exploring any other options in town.
You don't
Right
think
now,
they
this is
watch
still
our
the way to go.
finance committee meetings, right?
What's that?
I said, you don't think they watch our finance committee meetings or anything, right?
I'm pretty confident they're not watching.
Okay.
I'm not sure you'll find anybody admitting that.
So any more questions on the Norfolk County Dispatch? Travel and mileage?
Yes, that was due to, one of the contractual items they have is mileage reimbursement for going to the fire academy. And we had one member who lived quite a distance from Abington and quite a distance from the fire academy. And looking at both my salary, in that, the salary side, we could pay him overtime, if you would, to pick up the car, which we chose not to do. Or we could just pay him the mileage for that. As well as he could drive here, pick up the Abington car, and then drive to the academy and back, and that would have killed my fuel budget. So I'm trying to increase the mileage reimbursement somewhat, as well as in the future make changes on how we do this. We didn't expect the expense that we were gonna get with one individual, just where his location was until he moved. So that's somewhat reflecting that. I do have an anticipated retirement in June, so I am anticipating, again, next year, one person going to an academy. So I'm trying to get that base covered. We really had not this hasn't been an issue. We haven't had too many employees going to the academy. The other ones, we had someone to Brockton, other ones were commuting. This was a lone individual that lived kind of in the far apex of the triangle, and we took a small hit on that. I'm trying to prevent that from happening again.
So basically, the 500 amount that we had last year wasn't really enough to cover it. You covered it from elsewhere.
Correct.
So.
Do you have any questions?
Any other questions? We have like 15 minutes. Just a couple things real quick to bring you up to speed. Again, there would be a warrant request of $19,000. This is contractual sick leave buyback anticipated for a captain scheduled to retire in June. That request has been made. I know Dory has that, but it's $19,065. The ambulance lease purchase is going forward. I know that $255 was voted at the last town meeting out of ambulance enterprise account. We're hoping to have that vehicle by mid-July. The total cost came with the equipment. We also got a couple extra equipment on that. It was about $2,800. It was $2,886 over. However, we took that balance out of the ambulance, the current budgeted ambulance supplies budget to make that work. We're getting I know Sean will know what this is, we're getting a power lift stretcher to save everybody's backs, as well as a Lucas CPR device, which we had used one on a trial basis from the manufacturer. We couldn't afford at the time, and we had a couple of saves with that. It's new technology. It actually does the compressions for you, as well as saves the paramedics' backs, because that is labor intensive after a while. But I'm not sure if you've had luck with those or not, or what your opinion is, but.
Yeah, we use a different music comparing one
Okay.
from Zola, but same difference.
Okay.
The whole idea is to save more lives.
This is just a way to try to get that funding with the ambulance. The ambulance receipts, just to kind of bring you up to speed where we were currently. As you know, the last couple of years, one of the first things we did is we made a lot of changes with the ambulance billing, the ambulance fee structure. We opted out of the Blue Cross Blue Shield contract, which was killing us. So now that all of that is done, when we started, we were bringing in, the ambulance revenues were bringing in approximately $580,000 a year. Now we're bringing in, or we just cleared, $776,000. So that's almost
What is
an
it
additional,
again, 7?
776, 896.
Nice.
That was 2013 year-to-date.
Mhm.
Thank you. Glad you didn't charge me the consulting fee on that. So almost now granted, the call volume has gone up somewhat, but for the actual transports, it's pretty close to the same numbers we were doing. So just by cleaning up our act, we brought in an additional $225,000. So not bad.
Not bad at all.
And very quickly, if I can, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this but it really has to be mentioned. The 5-year capital plan, I know that there's a request out there that we have put in. I'm not sure how serious we are looking at actually funding that. However, I know some of the previous departments that were just here tonight, they're talking about their buildings, the upkeep, absolutely, there's no question. The headquarters station is built in 1964. Station 2 was built in 1973. Headquarters is going to be increasingly difficult to operate out of when they widen Route 18, which is coming very soon. The amount of land I'm losing from the front of that station, I literally don't know if I can pull the ladder truck out front to service it anymore. We're gonna be like Huntington Ave in Boston, where you stop traffic, you back your trucks in. And if you wanna pull your trucks out, there's no room there. We're gonna possibly lose that much land from what the plans I've seen. We've outgrown the station, both stations. I did replace the apparatus roof at Station 1 because it needed it desperately, but we're trying, the repairs we're doing to the station, I'm trying to do them with the mindset that we may not be there forever, because really, the time has come. I know the schools are looking for a major vote. I'm patiently waiting my turn on that. However, the town of Abington is seriously going to have to look at, and my suggestion and recommendation would be consolidating both stations into one new centrally located station, as centrally located as you can get. We are never going to have a perfectly centrally located location in Abington, just the way the town's set up. However, anything south of Route 139, along Route 18, the old Cape Cod lumber is perfect. I don't even know if the land's available. Anywhere in that corridor would probably be workable. There's a few locations around there. If we had to, we possibly could do something at 139. We're nowhere near even where we should be, but we have to start seriously considering what we can do to replace these stations. We've run out of room. The stations are not energy efficient. Both heating systems are original. Station 2 has multiple heating systems because it has never worked from day one correctly. We've really outgrown the building, so that's got to start to become on the radar. The ladder truck is 25 years old. That's got to be in the radar next several years. I'm not looking to spend all the town's money, believe me, but the apparatus, the equipment is really and we're not getting any quieter, we're just getting busier. The reason we're replacing the ambulance with a heavier duty one is because we are destroying the typical ambulances we've always had. And we're going to continue to do that. So we're trying for a stronger one to get more years out of it. The air packs, not the air bottles, but the air packs that we have, they're approaching the end of their life. That is a major purchase for the town of Abington. We have tried for grants on those. We're falling between the cracks on them because they're not old enough. However, they're old enough that things are starting to fail on them. We have tried with the grants. We have not had success with that, which is why we're going for a hose grant this year, which is another area that we need. I've asked for a boat the last couple of years. We still need a boat. I'm not asking for one this year because I'm trying to get caught up with some of the other purchases that we've had. The deputy chief's car is 2002. The chief's car is 2007. The ladder truck, the fire alarm system, goes back to the 1930s, the original system. We did pass a bylaw to try to require and replace all of the older wired fire alarm boxes to the new radio boxes. That was supposed to be January of 2015. To be honest with you, I'm holding off on that because until and unless I can increase the height of my receiving antennas at Station 1, which we're well on our way with that, with a new aerial, we're not receiving some of the boxes in town. I need the height. We need to increase our antennas. The new Cape Cod lumber on Groveland Street, we cannot receive that radio box. Holbrook gets it. We don't, it's just the topography in Abington and the trees surrounding my station. If and when, and hopefully when we get the antenna built behind Station 1, we're gonna raise those antennas. That should solve that. That was going to solve that. And then we're back into starting to replace engines again. Engine 3, which is the current one, which is 2007, that has been down more than the other engines. It's just, we've had issues with that truck. And it continues
And what's that,
to
a
be.
2007?
I believe that's an 07, I believe, yeah. Chief Cullen purchased that. And all of our personal protective clothing, the fire coats and like that. I know that, the last couple of years, 8 people have new coats, which is great. 16 people don't. They have, and you're supposed to replace all of that after 10 years. To replace everything, we're looking at about $100,000. So, I'm not asking for this tonight, but I'm trying to throw this on your radar, that these are some needs that we are really gonna have to do. And again, back to the fire station. I'm not looking for Taj Mahal. A serviceable station with pretty much, it's a garage for the apparatus with floor drains. We don't have floor drains, we can't wash trucks at Station 1. Everything goes to Station 2, except the ladder truck, which doesn't fit in Station 2. As well as, the office, training, and living quarters. I'm not looking for a Taj Mahal, just a serviceable station, but, I'm guessing between $3 to $5 million. Hopefully, we could sell the existing 2 stations, or whatever the town would choose to do that, to help offset the cost with that, but these are some needs that the town's gonna have to address at some point. So with that.
That's the good news.
We'll just keep plugging away and keep generating the money with the ambulance, and we're trying to offset the cost as much as we can. I do have some concerns with that as well, and I may be one of the only chiefs that's a little bit more cautious on this, where there are some changes coming up, and I know Sean is well aware of this as well. Under the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, if you will, there's requirements that are going to affect, or could affect, ambulance transports, whereby we could be limited on certain types of medical emergencies being able to transport them. They're actually talking possibly a voucher for a taxi cab instead of an ambulance, depending on what the issue is as it's reported. To offset that, they're also calling for community paramedics, which sounds great, and it could be great, whereby you may have 1 or 2 paramedics to go out. It's kind of a glorified visiting nurse. It's almost a visiting nurse tied with 911 to go out and start to care for some individuals. They're trying to keep people out of the emergency rooms, because once you get a patient in the emergency room, say for a sore knee, well, then they find you have high blood pressure, they find you have a cardiac issue, and they move you upstairs, and the bill begins. In a nutshell, they're trying to prevent that somewhat. And I'm sure you're going to.
Paramedics? I don't necessarily like the comparison to visiting nurses.
Well, but,
Why,
this is kind of how.
What's wrong with the
how we
visiting
describe it.
nurses?
Different skill set, different skill.
Oh, just asking.
So this is very new. The state hasn't even written the policies on this. However, when I hear that there could be limitations on the types of transports, the financial hat comes on immediately, and I'm looking at what that could do for the ambulance revenue. I'm also looking at, we could possibly be charging or billing the insurance companies for the paramedic program, but we don't have the staff to implement that. There is initial talk amongst area fire departments as well as state fire departments, the fire chiefs across the state, to initiate some type of a regional program for that. Sounds great. It's a vehicle shared with maybe paramedics from area towns. My question came on this, and my question to the Plymouth County chiefs is, okay, that's great, where's that revenue going? Because if you have an ambulance or a vehicle staffed by, for instance, this is only an example, Abington, Rockland, Whitman, and Hanson firefighters, Abington being busy as we are, if Abington's getting the bulk of that service, shouldn't that come back to the town of Abington? Well, the other chiefs think, no, that should be split 25% across the board. I don't think that necessarily is going to be a good working budget. So there's a lot of what ifs on here. Ultimately, I don't know how or if this could impact the ambulance revenues coming back to the town, which we're relying heavily on to offset the salaries, pay for the ambulance and the equipment. So again, I'm just putting that out there. I don't have the answers. Sean, I'm not sure if you do on any of these, if you have a clearer
I do, but
insight on this.
It's gonna take a remarkable amount of time. I'll certainly see it differently.
You know, it's on the horizon, and it's
And
close.
I'm sorry,
It's very
you'll
close.
see it differently.
I could have kind of tossed that out there and said, Sean, here you go, and then I'd excuse myself. And I would-
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, John.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Continued business. 2015 fiscal year budget timeline and expectation.
I didn't actually put that on the agenda.
It's there. I didn't either.
Just a standard.
Thank you. Do we have any discussion on that?
Not tonight.
Financial update on 2014 fiscal year.
It's a standing, you don't have to address it every.
Will be, yeah.
Liaison reports?
Firefighter liaison, I think he did a great job.
Oh, thanks. Review of minutes.
Motion to approve the meeting minutes of January 22nd.
Second.
All those in favor? Correspondence? I don't even know where the mail is. You have to show me where the mailbox is. It's the Beacon.
You got the Beacon, you have the municipal financial data, and that's just taxpayer, but there is a letter here if you wanted to deal with.
Actually, I just want to announce it.
Don't have me.
Just read the whole thing.
I'm on the mail.
Thank you. So how would you do this? You would just read the whole thing?
I would just.
All right. At a regularly scheduled Board of Selectmen meeting held on Monday, January 27th, 2014, it was unanimously voted to open the annual town meeting warrant on Monday, January 27th, and to close the annual town meeting warrant on February 18th. It was further voted to open the special town meeting warrant on Monday, January 27th, and to close the special town meeting warrant on Monday, March 3rd. Please contact the Selectmen's office for additional information. Does anybody want the Beacon?
I'm good.
All right, there you go.
Thank you.
What am I mentioning on that? That we have it?
the fact that we have it for review.
We have the school budget for review. How did I do? Next meeting is tomorrow.
Yes.
Yes.
What?
Sean has an announcement. The moderator, you have two openings for the finance committee?
Oh, thank you.
Seeking interested qualified Abington town residents. To make you qualified means you have an interest in the town.
And are a resident.
It's residents important.
That will be that, residents in town.
Yep.
Thanks, Brian.
It's a little mumbly there.
Yeah, that's what it was.
If you put reorganization on the first thing every meeting, you'll make sure everybody's.
Did I do that bad of a job?
Yeah.
Sure.
Thanks, Rick.
No, I just in case Matt wants to.
Yeah.
change it.
No. In case Matt doesn't
Make
want to be
it
chairman, he'll show up on time.
Anyone?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.